All right, looks like we are ready for our next session, our keynote speaker. She's worked in AP for a total of 11 years across manufacturing and the construction industry. She is CAPP certified with EIFL. She's implemented new processes across AP and implemented a shared service center for different countries around the world. And she has been with New Balance as an accounts payable manager for the last 7 years. And for me, she's got to be the fastest on the street with those shoes. Please welcome Heather Yates, who's going to be talking about growth and change management life at New Balance. How you doing, Heather?
Hi, everyone. You okay?
So how you been, Heather? Good?
Yeah, not bad, thank you. Not bad. Busy as always.
Excellent. So as with all of our keynote speakers, thank you for being here. And what we'll do is we'll let you go into your presentation. Make sure you're in the correct mode for when your slides want to pop up. And then at the end of your presentation, we'll field some questions from our attendees.
Hey, so good afternoon, everybody. My name is Heather, as Rob has introduced me, and I've been the accounts payable manager at New Balance for the last 7.5 years now. So my team of AP associates run a shared service centre covering off 9 legal entities across the EMEA region in various different areas. What I would like to talk to you about today is my time at New Balance for the past 7 years and what growth and change that I've seen here and how the team have managed that. So I'd also like to discuss how New Balance champion AP and how we should all be championing AP as the backbone of any business. So let's take a look at how New Balance showcases that overall. Initially, I want to start you off with a little bit of New Balance brand history. I wouldn't be me if I didn't. So this is just a very short video of how we celebrate our iconic grey days. Hopefully the sound will work for you all.
Hey, nice shoes.
Old dude had the shoes praise on. Mad at him. I want to fight him. But I'm thinking about the shoes.
Back then it was different, though. You know, something that was different. We all had mustaches.
He said, "What? You did? The buttons on." Sure. You spent $100 on a pair of shoes.
Yeah.
There's 2 types of people in the world. Those that know how to and New Balance. Those that don't.
Crazy thing about it is, New Balance is known for one of the best running shoes in the world, right? Right. But we are buying, and they're no running them. You know what I'm saying?
How iconic is that? So let's go back to AP in general. So I'm going to take you back to 2017. It is my first day, my first week at New Balance. And who remembers all of these different post trays? We had 4 legal entities across the UK, France, Germany, and the Netherlands at the time, processing around about 27,000 invoices per year, of which 44% of them would have a purchase order, and the rest of them we would have to manually stamp, put in trays, write on them again. Let's walk them around the office to everybody and see who needs to sign them off first before essentially we end up losing invoices, right? So AP's presence within New Balance was seen as a back office function, as a lot of us have been seen as a back office function for years, and we're obviously looking to change that going forward. So nobody really understood the value of what the team added to the company other than the wider finance group themselves. The only thing that would happen is something wouldn't get paid, and it would be, everybody knows, it's AP's fault. We haven't done something right. What else is going to happen with AP? We've stopped the event from running. Not great. So I'm going to fast forward a little bit, about 6 or 7 months into my job at New Balance. So we needed to up our game within AP. After opening quite a few stores across the EMEA region, the invoice volumes were increasing significantly, and it was really clear that something needed to change within the AP department. So we began to research and started implementation of OCR technology with machine learning. So along with paperless invoice processing, the whole business obviously had to undergo a change in the way that they approved their invoices. The paper invoices were no longer there, so we couldn't get them to go and sign off anything that was there anymore. Everything had to be what we did on an Excel spreadsheet with a link so that they could do paperless sign off of their invoices. It was a battle that we had, and some change was resisted by the business, especially for some of the longer standing associates. As you can imagine, people who are used to having a stack of paper on the desk no longer had that anymore. So the way that accounts payable team at New Balance adopted that change within the business was we ensured that we held associate drop-in sessions. So we would basically go and sit in the kitchen in the office when everybody was in the office back then. And we would invite anybody throughout the business to come and stop by throughout the day. Do they have any questions on their invoice approvals? Are they having system issues with getting access to view the invoice on a daily basis? What we found was that what helped adopt the change across the business, and it helped everybody build more confidence within the accounts payable team. They began to see that we were more of a helpful resource rather than just paper pushers and invoice processors overall, which was great. So moving on from OCR technology, and the team are more comfortable with the new processes, and the department is beginning to run quite smoothly. But New Balance, as we all know, the growth waits for no one. And again, we were in a position where something needed to change. With yet more store openings and the new opening of our Amsterdam D2C head office, it held all of the new processes that had to come along with that. Obviously, the growth of the business was just off the charts. We had to move quite a lot of associates from the UK over to the European office. So it was time to sit down with the team and find out what was taking us the most time and how can we move forward with this in the most efficient way possible without just hiring more people to, again, just monotonously process all of the invoices. So after reviewing those processes with the team, it was clear that what was taking us the most time was our stock. So that probably takes up about 40–50% of all of the invoice volume that comes through. The team were manually three-way matching all of these stock invoices against purchase orders. So after collaborating with our IT team and other key stakeholders across the business, we were able to implement an automation for three-way matching, which enabled us to automatically match around about 75% of the invoices that flow through and match it against the purchase order on the system. So it was ready to go through onto a payment run. It was a huge step forward for AP and the way we did things, as the team that managed the stock area of accounts payable were able to, instead of just pushing them through on a daily basis, not really getting much job satisfaction out of it, they were able to start running reports on all of these stock vendors. So who were causing us the most problems, who was coming out on those exception reports on a daily, a weekly, a monthly basis? What were the key areas that were holding up the payment of these invoices? Was it booking in at the warehouse? Was it we were waiting on somebody to change a price on a purchase order within that team? So I think having the time for the team to be able to go and have those key conversations with people around the business was a complete game changer for New Balance, and enabled us to manage these two head office functions quite well considering the growth. But then during that growth, we all know that COVID hit and everybody grinded to a halt. I think one thing for us, we needed to make sure that we became used to this remote way of working, and how were we going to ensure that we can still collaborate quite well with all of our teams all the way through. So due to the office closure, however, it did force all of our final vendors that hadn't adopted into emailing us invoices for OCR technology to finally start that process going and start emailing the invoices over to us. This was great because obviously nobody was there to pick up any of the posts that came to the building. So it was a choice of, you want your services to continue, then you're gonna have to conform to our way of doing things now, which we found absolutely brilliant. People, though, and motivation were the key factors that we had during COVID, and we needed to make sure that our teams stayed connected during this time. So the way that AP did this and the way that New Balance did this was, we would have a meeting every Friday. The whole team would be invited to this meeting, and we would celebrate any key successes during that week and make sure that we do not sever those connections with the colleagues, and we continue to champion those people throughout. AP specifically, each morning we would hold a virtual check-in call to discuss any of the key call outs for the day. Is anybody struggling with anything? Do we need any new problem solving? Does anybody have any ideas to sort of bring to the table of how we can do things differently? I personally think that this allowed the accounts payable team to start thinking outside the box with the way they do things and look at the whole business and how our department impacts on the business. So I would say overall, although COVID we know was a difficult time for everybody, I think it changed AP and the mentality of the team. It brought everybody closer together, I do believe, even though we were all so far apart. And I also think that with the new ideas that the team brought forward, it will obviously strengthen their development throughout their career going forward. So moving on from COVID and back to our key milestones within New Balance. So COVID was over, and we were looking at how we can do things differently going forward. But what happened was we expanded quite quickly, and this was the beginning of the implementation of the Shared Services Centre, which we now manage 9 of the legal entities, as mentioned. This change within the department and within the business happened very, very quickly. A lot of the team were quite shocked that it would happen so quickly, and in this sort of denial stage of the change curve that you see in here. So with this being such a quick change, initially we were bombarded with how things were wrong. Feedback on processes were causing the fear of we would lose the shared service centre ultimately, and all of these things would end up going back into the market, which obviously is not what we wanted. We wanted an efficient, sort of stabilised process across the region. The team began to feel anger and frustration. They were hitting the bottom of this change curve, and it wasn't looking like we were going to be able to make it out anytime soon, unfortunately. So what did we do? We sat as a team and we began to look individually at all of the feedback that was coming through from all of these different markets. And instead of focusing on the fact that we were getting negative feedback with processes that were going wrong, we started to think of it as a solution instead of a problem. How can we fix that now? How do we know why that's gone wrong? It's a learning curve. We haven't dealt with this market before. How can we take new learnings from it? And how can we begin to develop our internal processes and our relationships with those key stakeholders within the in-market finance teams? So the team did start thinking of new ways to work, and the creativity was alive within the team again. And they actually thought, do you know what? I think I might be able to do this, and we might be able to start making this work. So we very, very quickly strategized on the top priority areas. So what were the biggest issues that we were facing? What was the most common feedback that we were getting from the markets? Was it that we weren't paying the invoices timely enough? Was it vendor setup? Was it GL coding and everything was going to the wrong place? So once we were able to identify the problems in an orderly fashion with what we were looking at, we were able to start documenting what solutions would work and gaining that valuable insight from the in-market finance managers, and really detailing out those processes to ensure that whatever we do implement was there to stay, and it was going to take the business forward to a more efficient running of the AP department. So within 12 months, the in-market finance managers began to be happy with the progress of AP. The processes were very clear, they were easy to follow, and the AP team was showing really clear commitment to the shared services. And then begin to think of how we can continuously improve that. It's not just fixing the problem and leaving it, and that's the new process and that's the way we go with it. It's how can we continuously strive to beat that expectation and beat those SLA targets that we're looking for within those markets. What can we do next, essentially? But how can we begin to make any changes within the world with it changing so rapidly? We all know that everyone has their head in a phone at the minute, and that technology is at the forefront of every business's mind and takes priority in most people's lives now. So we need to make sure that we're on top of all of that and we're making sure that the changes are available. So travel within New Balance, as I'm sure it could be with a lot of your businesses as well, is on the rise. A lot of our associates are keen to reconnect with those market finance teams, other key stakeholders across the business, external customers and suppliers, and really start building those relationships together really again. So how can we make sure that that doesn't delay any of the New Balance processes that we have for AP? We made sure that any expense approvals, any purchase order approvals that we were looking at, any invoice approvals were all able to be done via a mobile app instead. Having an associate being able to travel and submit their expenses and have those put through in a timely fashion can be key to quite a lot of people around the business. So being able to approve those just on your phone instead of having to wait for people to sit down on their laptop whilst they're in the middle of traveling is obviously the way forward that we want to go with this. So we can quickly redirect any approvals for anybody that's out of office, anybody that's off sick, and in turn, when the payment runs go for accounts payable as well, those can all be done via the mobile phone. It's definitely the way forward, and I think as time goes on, we'll obviously make sure that continues. So no changes, though, can ever be possible without the teams behind them, and New Balance ensure that our teams truly are the best in the business. So we keep the team engaged on a regular basis, but how do we do this? Well, we sit everybody down in a brainstorming session. I personally believe that when you have your team that are processing things on a daily basis, they're in the detail. You as a manager can't see everything that your team is doing, and you can't be expected to see everything that your team is doing. So get everyone around the table, have them vent, have them showcase their problems. What issues are they having? There could be the same issue across the board. How would they fix it in an ideal world? And let them bring their ideas to the table. For us at New Balance, I believe that gives my team specifically a little bit more job satisfaction. They feel more valued as they are key to those decisions that we're making for processes within the department. They make sure that they can test things. If it goes wrong, it's fine. It's a test. We need to make sure that we create that culture that we can make mistakes, that not every idea is going to be successful, and you can only learn from things that do potentially go wrong. Anything then that goes through is creative. It's a new way of doing things, and we can make sure that it's the best way forward for everybody. One quote that I would say has really stuck with me is make the time to celebrate the accomplishments, no matter how big or small they are. So what we adopt within New Balance is, my team in particular, especially around transactional processing, is that you can never know what's coming around the corner. The team can sometimes feel that the amount of transactions that flow through, they may not be making much of an impact. Their job can become quite monotonous, and they may not feel like they're doing very well at their job. So what we do is we make sure that any reporting that we pull, we really celebrate those milestones that the team have hit, even down to one of the team members has reconciled a historic direct debit account on the ledger. Well, wow, that's amazing work. Congratulations. Well done to you. What can we do next? I believe it encourages growth and new ideas, and the team feel that they can really start to begin to push those boundaries and that they are capable of anything. And when the big things come, it's even more enthusiastic the way that we do things. But automation projects have helped us over the years, and the AP team are now seen within the business as a really core function rather than that back office admin function. We really have come a long way, and we're talking maybe 5 years in to my New Balance experience now. The team are very well respected across the business now more than ever. And we're not just seen as the department that stops production, or we stop a marketing event and God forbid we stop London Marathon from running. This has allowed any automation to go through. It's also allowed the team to really upskill what they're capable of. So any development that they're looking at now, instead of processing those invoices through with the help of automation, they've got the time to make sure that they are really the best in their field and they are an expert when it comes to stock or non-stock or travel and expenses within the accounts payable department. They're developing skill sets that they never thought they had, and as recognition of that, the company and fellow peers have come through like a tidal wave, the feedback that we've got as a department. So it creates more job satisfaction for everybody, and I feel that my team are truly happy in the job that they're doing because they know that whatever they're doing, they're making an impact overall. So do we still have teams in here that fear AI within the workplace? I think there might be still a few out there. So my top concern for the New Balance AP team and the team's concerns to me have historically been, will my job become redundant if we implement AI? It's not something that we want to look at here, and at New Balance we need to showcase that that is far from the truth of what we are looking at. So what I believe will happen is once we implement any sort of AI across the business, the AP team will no longer be data processors. They are no longer purchase ledger clerks, but data analysts. We need them to report on vendor trends, spend analysis work on all of these vendors that are coming across the business, and really homing in on that communication with those key stakeholders across the business. It's really, really important to us that we can make sure that AP has a presence within the company. And coming back and taking it back to where we were in 2017 is not the way to do things. We know that now. So let's utilize any sort of AI that we can across the business, and let's see where it can take us going forward. Nothing can harm. It can only help us develop those skill sets, like I said. So don't fear the change. Let's embrace it. Allow it to unlock all of the new ideas that you and your teams can have. Now is the time to show that your teams as well are not just that back office function. So what's next for the New Balance AP team? Our latest challenge at the minute is an implementation of a new ERP system that is about to begin, and which will and has already, of course, brought its own challenges. However, I do believe that with what I have personally seen AP overcome since my time here, I have the complete and utmost confidence within my team that this will be an easier transition for them, and they will quite gladly welcome the change and potential challenges that may come with it, because it will again allow them to unlock that next sort of function that they can have. We're continuing to grow the business, and we are looking to bring in potential new markets to AP shared services, hopefully as time goes on. So the team will collaborate, and we will strive for that continuous improvement across AP, ensuring that we want to operate as best in class. I personally am really excited to see what me and my team do next. So bringing it back to sort of brands, we're a New Balance now. So the growth of New Balance, as I've mentioned probably throughout this whole presentation, is incredible. And the focus from a company perspective and from an AP perspective is to thrive against all odds. And the people that we have here are at the very, very core of that. Collaboration and communication, I would say, are the key things to the success of any team and any company. If you know your people within the team and you trust your people, then you guys can do anything. We showcase this with our company values. So we look at volunteering events and associate engagement in events such as our London Marathon, such as the brand summit that we have. And it's also showcased throughout all of our athletes that represent us as well. Anybody that walks around in a pair of New Balance or works for the company has to represent those core values that we hold really, really dear. And I would say everybody that works at New Balance can hand on heart say that we are overwhelmingly proud to work for this company. And we are all very, very excited to see what happens next. So I am going to leave you with another short video, more showcasing on how New Balance showcases people and appreciation shown after all of the incredible work that we do. So this is around the EMEA brand summit that we held. We brought together 600 associates from across the EMEA region and basically took over London for 2 days. It was an incredible experience. This was more to showcase the key milestones of the teams, the company surrounding sales, technology, and new ways of working, and really showcases how New Balance really holds all of our people very dear.
I go, the people really want to know who I is and who I be. They stop and stare when they see me. If I'm once, no need to repeat. Run up on me, watch fall to your knees. Tip my hat when it's time for the kill. Ain't no peace when you really real. I am the boss, I am the dawn. I am the one they call Lucky Tom. Got my own shit, I don't need your farm. Life was so hard, it made me weak. Built to last, this girl ain't weak. Sturdy and still when I plant my feet. Got it out the melon, now it's back to my sleep. Look to God, he supplies my needs. Endless faith is what brought me next level prosperity. Silent power moves what I'm giving. They love to hate the world and can't live it. Always present for the high road. Both with words as a weapon. Test the sheep. Test the sheep. Hurry up quick and have things coming soon. This is her queendom. Please respect her rule. Hurry up quick and have things coming soon. This is the queendom.
Brilliant, right? So I would just like to say a massive thank you to all of you for joining me today and listening to me. I hope I didn't bore you too much. If you would like to keep in touch or ask any questions, I'm ready for any questions that may come my way now, or please just pop me an email or add me on LinkedIn. But thank you so much, everybody.
Heather, we do have a question for you, so don't go anyplace. AP Automation has OCR technology and ability to automate three-way matching and can be completely embedded in JD Edwards.
Sorry, Rob, can you just repeat that?
Has OCR technology and ability to automate three-way matching. Can it be completely embedded in JD Edwards? Oracle, I think.
So our ERP system is working towards Microsoft 365 with any sort of systems that we want to put in place. OCR technology and any sort of AP automation that we're looking for will be at the core of any systems that we put in place. Hope that answers your question.
Excellent. That was amazing. Now let's talk about something that's going on. You've got the Chicago conference, September 25th. You're going to be delivering a keynote session there as well. It's heading for best in class during rapid growth, the New Balance journey. Tell us a little brief insight into your keynote session in Chicago.
Yeah, of course. So I'm going to be digging a little bit more into the depths of how we implemented that shared service center. I'm also going to be showcasing how we strive to be best in class and how we're going about that. So we're also working with other third parties that look at accreditation and how we do things within our AP department and how we want to standardize all of those processes across the EMEA region that we're looking at the moment. So how can we make sure that what we're doing is above and beyond any other company? And the only way to do that is to make sure that we're networking, make sure that we understand the latest technology that's out there to ensure that we implement it.
Now, Heather, I believe you're joining us for the Toronto conference as well in November 5th.
No, just
Oh, you're
Chicago.
not? Okay.
No.
Well, we're going to have another conference in November 5th. Maybe
Oh,
we'll
that's
get
fun.
Now, the London conference is March 21st. You've been attending, these London conferences in the past. Give us a little insight on what you found helpful there.
I think that the conferences bring together so many people with knowledge that you would never have even thought to think of yourself within the business. So it really gives a new insight into the way that anybody would look at things. Us personally at New Balance, we know that our way of thinking might not always be the best way. So the only way to make sure that we are striving to be that best in class operation is to get feedback from other people. How are we viewed as New Balance as a whole from our key stakeholders? And how do other companies doing it, which is really clear in any of the IFOL conferences that I've been to anyway. Getting that sort of insight into other businesses and the way that they do things is an amazing experience to adapt to, and it really gets your brain thinking of how we can do things differently in the future.
Well, you used the operative word insight. Thank you for your insight today with growth and change management, life at New Balance. I've got one question for you, Heather. What kind of shoes do crabs wear?
Go on.
Sandals?
Brilliant.
Thank you for your time. Again, Heather, we'll see you in Chicago.
Great. Thank you very
September
much.
25th. Now, we encourage our attendees to book their passes for the conferences that I mentioned: Chicago, September 25th, Toronto, November 5th, and London, March 21st, 2025. For more information and book, you can find the information on our IFOL website. The link can also be found in our chat box.